We will start with a word of prayer now. Let us pray. Gracious, loving Father, be with us right now with the gift of the Spirit of truth, that we may be in the truths of Jesus Christ, the plan of salvation, that we may understand your will for us in these last days, and that we may take the warning of the earthquakes, the storms, the heat of the sun, and all these things that are around us, telling us that Jesus is coming soon. So let us take these things to heart, loving Father, in the right spirit, prepared for the end. In Jesus' holy name we pray, with thanksgiving and giving. Amen. Amen. Okay, my dear brethren, it's a pleasure to see all of you all here alive today. Amen. But let me just give a special welcome again to Sister Farrell's sister all the way from Africa. What do you say? Right? Yes, she is. Yeah. Although Sister Farrell died in faith, her sister never forsook us. And that is why today we are seeing her here all the way from Africa. What do you say? Right? So we want to give you a special welcome. And it is wonderful to see your face again. Amen. Amen. Now today, based upon what happened this week, we want to look at science. That's the name of our study. Science. Just science. That's the name of our study today. Science. And our study involves a lot of video footage. Because we want to look at science all over the world. So for that reason, we have selected some video footage of things that are taking place in different parts of the earth as we get closer to the end. And we want you, my dear brethren, to appreciate why these things are happening. You see, over and over it has been said that Jesus Christ is coming soon. Yes. What are the signs of his soon coming? The scripture the brother quoted today is the exact scripture that we want to base our study. So the psalm actually matched the study. If you go to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. And we will start with verses 1 to 3. So many things are happening in the world today that we are told within 24 hours there were major quakes all around the earth. While we suffered a lot of damage, like a large part of the country in the north, a mountain sank into the sea. Sorry? Right, okay, yes. It sank into the sea. And in south, huge areas were cracked up. What we have faced here is still joke to what these other countries are facing. And there's a reason why. Put on the first shot for us, though. Okay. Let us read Matthew chapter 24, and we will look at verse 1 to verse 3. We read. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple. And his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily, I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Now just hold on right here. you have to understand what happened before. Jesus had actually rejected the Jewish nation and rejected their temple as a symbol of teaching the truth. And he even told them, your house is left unto you what? Desolate. So the disciples couldn't take that. So they sought to try to impress Jesus' mind with the beauty of the temple, which was at that time a wonder of the world. And show them and say, Master, look at how this beautiful building is. Look at when the sun hits it, it shines like gold. Look at how wonderful it is. All these things were told. And what had happened? Jesus told them that whole era is coming to an end. Because that whole temple is going to be destroyed. Today, the evangelicals are telling us it will be built back again. But Daniel says never. The Jews have requested President Trump and President Putin to rebuild back a third temple, a new temple. Because they figure that since they have so much power, so much influence, they will be able to get it built back. But they would not get that temple built back period. Because the Bible tells us it will be gone forever. It was just a symbol of Christ. And now that Christ has come, you don't need that symbol anymore. But those evangelicals who hold a religion that is not biblical, how do you know? Biblical religion always teaches keeping the commandments of God. Amen. It never teaches transgressing the law of God. Amen. There's nowhere, listen to me carefully. I want you to listen to me carefully, pay attention. You cannot find one scripture anywhere telling you transgress the law of God because of grace. Look for it, you won't find it. So we know one thing we show. Biblical Christianity always tells us to keep the what? Commandments of God. So here Jesus told them that this temple will be destroyed. Not one stone will be left upon another. Let's read on. Verse 3. So when Jesus left the temple, a short walk will lead you to the Mount of Olives. So let's see what happened. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, verse 3, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? Now stop right here. That these things be is the overthrow of the temple. We're not dealing with that. What do you say? Let's see what we're dealing with. Notice his statement again. When shall these things be? And it is the and we are dealing with. Right? And did you just see it? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of what? The end of the world. So what we are looking at here is that the signs Jesus would give to the end, the sign of your coming and the end of the world, the signs Jesus gave would be signs of his what? Second coming and what? Signs of the what? End of the world. This is what we have to understand. So when the world is coming closer to its end, certain signs must take place. Yes, because Jesus in his word gave them what? Signs of his what? Second coming. By the way, it cannot be a rapture. Because if Jesus Christ comes as a rapture, the world continues.
Yes. That's right. That's right.
That is why it must be signs of his what? Second coming and what? That's right, you got it clear. Or else you will have to say it is signs of the second coming, but not signs of the end of the world. Not at all. So what we are looking for, what Jesus is telling us, is that we have to look for what? Signs of his what? Second coming and what? Signs of the what? End of the world. understood, my dear brethren?
Yes.
That is what we are looking for. Do you get that clear?
Yes.
Do you get that clear?
Yes.
What are these signs supposed to show us? What are these signs supposed to show us? Matthew 24. Matthew 24. So what are these signs supposed to show? That Jesus was second coming is what? Near. That's what it's supposed to show. And as we proceed in this study, you will see the Bible give us signs that are signs of other signs. You will see that as we go on. So in other words, it is supposed to show us, the sign is supposed to show us that Jesus' second coming is near. How do we know that? Let's look at Matthew 24 again, and let's look at verse 37, verse 38, verse 39, and then we'll go back to verse 33. Right? So, first of all, 37. Matthew 24, 37. We read. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were doing what? Eating and drinking what? Marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into where? Did you just see that, my dear brethren? And knew not, notice this, and they knew not until the flood came and what? Took them all away. So shall also the what? The coming of the Son of Man be. So in other words, people will be caught up in all sorts of pursuits in life. They will be caught up in the regular social activities of life. Until suddenly, destruction will come and do what? Sweep them all away. That's how Jesus himself presented. So we are not looking at some words conceived by men. We are looking at Jesus himself speaking. And if God in a temple of flesh should tell us this, who are we to doubt? Is that understood? Yes. Now go back to 32. Verse 32. What are we told? So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that what? It is near where? Even at the door. So the signs are meant to show that the second coming of Jesus Christ is what? Near, even at the door. So when you see all those signs going on around us, what is it supposed to tell you? What did Jesus say it's supposed to tell you and I? That the second coming is? Where? Even at the door. Do you know what it means to be even at the door? You just open the door and you reach everything. My dear brethren, our discussion is about events that are taking place all over the world. That is our discussion. We want to show you events that are taking place all over the world. We want to show you it in video footage. We want you to see what has been going on. The news media does not show us what has been going on. They just take a few little photos and they show it over and over and over. And they don't really give us the real news. Do you know that when Donald Trump was in England, they attempted to assassinate him? Did you see it on the news generally? No. They don't tell you these things. They don't tell you these things. And now they have decided to remove all conservative views And they have hired a lot of leftist communists, and they openly went and said that they are seeking to influence our minds. I don't want any leftist to influence my mind. It's supposed to be influenced by the word of God. What do you say? And remember, socialism kills. Socialism, communism is a mass murdering organization. It's a mass murdering movement. Yet they want to impose that upon us. It will happen in the end. But before the end comes, you must see signs of the second coming of Jesus Christ. And those signs must show us that his coming is what? Near. So how are you supposed to interpret the earthquake that struck us? Like what? Some people say, oh, well, we have earthquakes all the time in the streets. Never so regular. Never so regular. In fact, the earthquakes that we are having now are of a different character to the past. Amen. So this is the reason why you and I must see these things as signs of Jesus' soon coming. So we want to show you a couple of videos here of latest things that are going on around the earth as signs of Jesus' soon coming. I want to show you as signs of Jesus' soon coming. And then we will get back to the scripture. First, take a look at it.
2 French rivers have suddenly disappeared, sinking into cracks underground. The Doubs River in Franche-Comté and the Rille in Normandy. The Doubs River has suddenly disappeared despite abundant rainfall in the area. And 2 weeks before, the Rille River dried up in Normandy, killing all living species within. According to geologists, the water has drained into cracks and sinkholes below the riverbeds.
In keeping track of these anomalies, these oddities that keep happening around the globe with water vanishing out of lakes, out of rivers, we have another incident here where 2 rivers have vanished. This time they're saying that the earth has opened up, that these massive cracks and fissures have swallowed up the rivers. Now, it's never came back. And in this instance, we have 2 different rivers. One in France, one that runs through Normandy. They're saying that these 2 rivers have dried up over a length of more than 1 kilometer. They're saying that the precipitation has been there. There's been an abundance of it all winter through the spring, and they're saying that not only has the river disappeared, but now the fauna and the flora is disappearing as well. It's all dead. That's what's starting to stick out to me. That's the most striking thing there. Not only has the water vanished, but now all the life is drying up and dying as well around it. So it shows just how quick life can recede when the water vanishes. Now, there's a cave of Remenot that is located near the village of Morteau. It is along the Doubs. The Doubs River is one of the rivers that had just dried up here. It was dedicated to the Virgin Mary. This chapel cave contains what they call miraculous water, and it is visited each year on August 15th, on the day of Assumption. But during this year's annual pilgrimage, the cave was dry for the first time ever. No water, just pebbles and dead fish. Here's a shot of one of the rivers that has dried up, and you can see here near the home and everything else. This whole thing, this was the river, completely gone. And another one, and you can see here how they're saying it's just completely anomalous. After all of the snow and weather they have received, river's just gone. So,
Massive 40-meter wide and 100-meter deep sinkhole opened in Guerrero, Mexico, displacing 7 families so far, with 30 more at risk. Large cracks continue to grow in Moctezuma, Mexico, displacing 2 families so far.
An update to the situation in Florida, where this red tide has prompted an emergency declaration, where the governor has said he has to declare a state of emergency along many of the coastal areas because of this red tide and this bloom that's gotten out of control, killing marine life, including dolphins, manatees, sea turtles. It's making people sick, and there are several counties that are dealing with this, and they're saying that this red tide has lasted longer than any other in the past decade in terms of Florida. Now, I talked about this last time, and one of the main things that seems to be connected to this in a lot of the animal die-off is phosphorus and nitrogen.
Now at 6, action plan. Red tide spreading, the waterways now threatened, and the rush to get it cleaned up. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
Officials say that vendor will begin on Monday. Behind me, you can see the problem right here in this canal in Coral Shores. There are dead fish everywhere. So here's what's happening this weekend. Today and tomorrow, county staff are surveying the area, putting together a game plan ahead of the beginning of the work week. The vendor will start cleaning up communities with the most amount of dead fish first. Their focus will be on small canals and waterways. Homeowners say there was some confusion about whose responsibility it was to take care of the mess. Homeowners were told they had to hire fishermen. Now the county is stepping up. One homeowner tells me he doesn't blame the county, but is glad something is being done because the smell can be unbearable. The county started a hotline where people can call if they want more information about cleanup efforts or any information about red tide.
The 2 rivers that disappeared, they were not small rivulets. They were huge rivers existing for years, and overnight they disappeared. Cracks opening in the ground. And this is just 2, but this is happening all over the world. As rivers disappear, lakes disappear, they symbolize the word of God disappearing from the earth because of the evils of man. And one of the places where it disappeared, there were always water there since long, long, long before we were born, before Columbus. So much that they built a grotto to worshiping Mary. And in one day, all the water just disappeared. And the brother said amen to that. We have sinkholes opening all over the earth. Just yesterday, a large amount of sinkholes appeared in another place. We have the earth cracking up as a sign of the great earthquake that will destroy the earth. We are seeing all these signs of greater signs that are going to come. But these are to warn us that Jesus Christ is coming what? Very soon. And this is the reason why we must take those signs serious. It's not just an earthquake or fire. It is signs of His second coming. You must remember many of these things were written in the spirit of prophecy telling us how we are to interpret it. But that is later. Long before Jesus already told us how to look at these things as signs of His what? Second coming. So let's just look at a little more signs before we go back to the scripture.
California's wildfires are still raging. From the Oregon border, it's spine against Nevada and all the way down to the cities pressed against Mexico. Over 20 active fires are still being battled by firefighters, and as of today, state authorities have given estimates on their containment. The Mendocino Complex fire in Northern California, which is now recorded as the largest fire in the state's history, is at 68% containment. The Holy Fire in Southern California, which has forced the evacuations of thousands, is now at 65% containment. And the deadly Ferguson Fire, which claimed the lives of first responders and has threatened Yosemite National Park, is almost fully extinguished. This is the video taken by Mark Coten, a Filipino-American resident of Lake Elsinore, the city in Southern California most ravaged by the Holy Fire. He and his wife were forced to evacuate to safer ground late last week when the flames came extremely close to their home. The upper elevations of Temescal Canyon are still burning, but Ortega Highway, the vital link between Lake Elsinore and Orange County, has been reopened to through traffic Tuesday morning. The Holy Fire sparked on August 6, leaving thousands of acres charred, but solidifying a community.
A fire tornado has ravaged parts of a city in California, killing one firefighter. The churning funnel of smoke and flames was some 300 meters wide at its base and shot 12 meters into the sky. It erupted in the middle of a wildfire that has been burning since the 23rd of July. A number of abnormal conditions likely contributed to the tornado, including record heat in the Sacramento Valley and cool high-speed winds from the coast.
Two massive wildfires in the northern part of the state have now combined to form the largest fire in state history. More than 14,000 firefighters are now on the front line statewide.
Take a look at this map. You can see the location of 18 major fires, including a new blaze in Orange County that's been exploding in size, trapping hikers on a mountain. This morning, the California wildfire disaster is growing more desperate and historic. The fires, known as the Mendocino Complex northwest of Sacramento, are now joining together, fueled by dry vegetation and hot, windy weather, to become the largest fire California has ever seen, burning an area the size of Los Angeles. At least 75 homes destroyed, more than 9,000 buildings threatened, and this morning, dramatic new images from the southern part of the state. In the Cleveland National Forest, the blaze, dubbed the Holy Fire, has more than quadrupled in size in just hours, forcing evacuations. Officials say climate change has made the fire season longer with more intense fires.
Smoke from California's wildfires has now drifted as far as New England, more than 3,000 miles away. The major concern tonight remains the Holy Fire outside Los Angeles, which has burned 18,000 acres.
It's the nightmare this community feared, a wall of flames bearing down on densely populated Lake Elsinore, thousands of homes in its path. Homes dwarfed by the towering flames edging perilously close. And this, the last desperate stand to save a neighborhood.
This one being carried by the wind over this highway and up into this mountain. This area is so bone dry, firefighters worry it could explode like a powder keg.
By the way, this is the state that is seeking to ban the Bible.
The entire province of BC is now under a state of emergency as hundreds of wildfires continue to burn. This dramatic video was taken yesterday at Fraser Lake near Prince George at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But you wouldn't know it as smoke and ash effectively filter out the afternoon sun. Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth saying the decision to declare an emergency was made to ensure public safety.
There are some significant differences between the fire situation last year and this year. This year what we're dealing with is fires all over the province of British Columbia, whereas last year they were tended to be concentrated in a number of areas, the Caribou, for example.
Right now, there are over 3,300 personnel fighting more than 560 wildfires. 29 evacuation orders are affecting over 3,000 people, with another 48 evacuation alerts advising more than 18,000 people to stay ready to flee at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, in Metro Vancouver, the smoke from the wildfires is blanketing the city, and an air quality advisory drags through the midweek. You can even see here in this footage taken just 3 weeks ago from this location just how different the sky has become, and the mountains nowhere to be seen. The state of emergency is in effect for 14 days and can be extended if needed. Officials saying it will ensure federal, provincial, and local resources can be delivered in a coordinated manner.
Definitely staying very active across the province. That's keeping our crews busy. We are trying to manage their fatigue best we can, making sure they're getting days off, and that also factors into why we've been bringing in so many additional resources.
Now, the federal government has accepted British Columbia's request for assistance, meaning additional federal personnel and resources will be arriving to assist almost immediately. During the 2017 wildfire season, the province was under an official state of emergency as well for 10 weeks.
So, my dear brethren, you see how much fire all over, and a lot of houses burned down. 20 people actually died in different fires in different parts of the earth, in Greece and in other places, in Portugal and in other places. And all this in 2018. And all these are signs of the end. Now here's what we need to look at. Okay? Here's what we are looking at. Matthew chapter 24. And let's look at verse 42 to verse 44. Let's see what it tells us. You will observe that the reason why we are given these signs, the Bible tells us, those signs are meant to cause us to watch so that we can be prepared or ready for the second coming of Jesus. So what are you supposed to do when those signs are taking place? You're supposed to what? Watch. Did you see that? When those signs are taking place, you're supposed to watch. And it's supposed to cause us to what? Prepare for the what? Jesus' second coming. So when you see those things, you're supposed to be watching and preparing for Jesus' what? Second coming. Let's read from verse 42. It tells us, watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Now here comes the real part. It says, therefore, be ye also what? Ready. Be ye also what? Ready. Why? For For in such an hour as well, you think not what the Son of Man coming. So he pointed all these signs as the second coming of Jesus, to make us to watch and be prepared for the second coming of Jesus. So earthquake takes place, you run out of your home, you wait, the ground settles, you go back in your home. What are you to learn from that? You're supposed to watch. You're supposed to get yourself prepared for the second coming of Jesus. That's what those things are for. Is that understood, my dear brethren? Yes, my dear.
Where it says, and the sixth angel called out the cloud upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the king of the east might be clear. Now, about the way of the east, the king of the east, that may be dead, and it lies like something to look forward for just
in chapter 16, they are just referring to what you talk about. Isaiah identified the kings of the east as Yahweh and the angels. When Jesus is coming with his angels, the river Euphrates is identified as the support of Babylon. When Babylon's support dries up, Jesus Christ will come. And that will be during the year of the plague. That's why you were reading Revelation 16 about the plague. So that's something entirely different. But it is telling us that Babylon will lose support, that Jesus will come. Now that is going to happen. Babylon is going to lose support after the first plague starts and it reaches way down to the fifth plague. Then Babylon will lose support.
And I was wondering, as you were saying that the water drying up as a sign that the Holy Spirit...
No, the waters of the Euphrates, you must remember when Babylon...
No, not the water. I thought it was given the sign there that the
yes.
water drying up, and it's like a sign that Jesus Christ is coming. It's a sign that
of his coming.
The word of God is leaving the earth.
Yes, because in different parts of the earth, a lot of lake, in fact, just this week, another whole large lake, a huge deep lake just disappeared overnight. Now these things never happened before. But what are they a sign of? Jesus says what? Second coming. So you have rivers drying up, lakes drying up, as a sign of Jesus is what? Second coming toward us. But it's symbolizing word of God drying up for man.
Because they don't believe the truth.
Because they have rejected the truth, and also because they are turning into a lot of false teachings and false doctrines that are existing. It needs to say, you have a work to do to show them the truth. So my dear brethren, we know that the signs are meant to show us that we should watch, and that watching supposed to cause us to prepare for Jesus' what? Second coming. So what we need is a kind of watching that prepares us for Jesus' second coming. Just go to the next.
बाप रे हो इधर नया बात हो गया नहीं का एक पड़ गया पानी तुरंत घर उड़ सब उड़ा देगा लकड़ी उकड़ी जो नजर आ रहा सब गायब हो गया
वो पेड़ खड़े खड़े जा रहे हैं
घर को ले लेगा
ई वाला छोटका नीचे कीजिए ना थोड़ा सा ये हाँ हाँ पेड़ गेल घर गेल
ಅಯ್ಯೋ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ
Look at the kind of floods they get. You don't get anything like that. This country cannot take that kind of damage.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് രക്ഷപ്പെടുവാനായി ഒരു മാർഗവും ആരെയും കാണുന്നില്ല. പലരെ വിളിച്ചിട്ടും MLA ഒന്നും എത്തിയിട്ടില്ല, അറിയിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്.
In India, the whole airport territory.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Glor. We're going to begin tonight with the unyielding rains in parts of the east. Some people are seeing their homes flooded for the third time in a month. More than 20 million face flood threats this evening. Heavy rain has already triggered flash flood warnings in parts of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. Rescue crews today answered several calls for help, including this one to save a 12-year-old boy outside Philadelphia. In Benton, Pennsylvania, people went to high ground after a swollen creek spilled its banks and ripped through town. Don Daler is about 60 miles south of there.
Residents of Pennsylvania were taken by surprise by how fast the water rose today, flooding homes, floating cars, and buckling roads. This dramatic rescue was caught on tape. A 12-year-old trapped on a pile of branches in this stream in Charleston Township, Pennsylvania, about 30 miles west of Philadelphia. In central Pennsylvania, rescue crews fielded calls for help by boat.
The same way we got that flooded into
ഭക്ഷണമില്ല, ഒന്നുമില്ല. ഒരു കൊച്ചു കുട്ടിക്ക് പാല് പോലും ഇല്ല. ഞങ്ങളിവിടെ വളരെ കഷ്ടതയാണ്. എങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലും ഞങ്ങളെ ഒന്ന് ഇരുന്ന് രക്ഷിക്കൂ സാർമാരെ. പ്ലീസ് പ്ലീസ് പ്ലീസ്. ഞങ്ങൾ വെള്ളത്തെ കയറി രണ്ടാമത്തെ നിലയുടെ അടുത്ത് വരെ എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇനി ഞങ്ങൾ എങ്ങടേക്ക് പോകും? ഒരു നിവൃത്തിയില്ല. എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്ത് ഞങ്ങളെ ഒന്ന് പുറത്താക്കി തരും. ഏതെങ്കിലും കരഭൂമിയിലേക്ക് ഞങ്ങളെ ഒന്ന് ആക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. പ്ലീസ്.
Power supply has been cut to avoid electrocution. Drinking water supply hit as Kerala grapples with the worst rain since 1900. The death toll has crossed 100. More than 50 deaths have taken place in the last 2 days. The state struggles to remain afloat, affecting over 2 crore citizens. Lakhs of people have been taken to relief camps. Many others are stuck in their houses even as water level continues to rise. Scarcity of drinking water is rising concern because of lack of electricity in most places. Phones are running out of charge and subsequently reaching out for help is becoming increasingly difficult. There are SOS messages coming from people who are stuck on terraces with water level rising above an entire floor. More than 1.5 lakh people have been evacuated to 1,068 relief camps spread across the state.
slowly picking through the rubble to recover what's left of their lives. The Marikina River burst its banks at the weekend, leaving behind huge mounds of garbage and sludge. Disaster management officials said that in just 8 hours, the river rose from 16 to 21 meters, just shy of the record of 23 meters 9 years ago, when 700 people were killed. This car mechanic is trying to rescue his tools.
Flash floods in North Jersey create a different kind of pileup. Rain on Saturday night flooded a local river in Little Falls, Passaic County. Nearly a dozen cars from a nearby dealership were sent floating downstream in a huge mess. Some of the cars still had their sticker prices on them, but wow, look at that sight.
New thunderstorms fired up across the Northeast today, keeping flash flood warnings in New York and Pennsylvania in place. It has been a record wet summer in the region. More than 20 inches of rain has soaked State College, PA since June 1st, and it is still falling. Don Daler's in the town of Holstead.
Dramatic video shows the severity of the flooding in upstate New York as this swollen waterfall pounds traffic 50 feet below. Heavy floodwaters have engulfed parts of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, washing out roadways, submerging vehicles, and forcing
Oh my God! How are we supposed to get through this? Oh my God! It's up to our ankles. It's up to our knees here in Toronto. Oh my God! Don't worry, don't worry. Okay.
Oh, it stinks too. Look at the wave. We're doing the wave.
What should I do? I think we should.
La camioneta se está moviendo. Este pendejo también ya se está moviendo, Sí, güey, no mames, la moto está ya tirada en la esquina, ¿no? Ya lo viste, ¿ya la viste?
They'd planned for some peace and sunshine but found themselves on a holiday from hell as 1,600 people were evacuated from areas of southern France. Most of them were campers whose tents were unable to hold out against the torrential rain and strong winds. The severe flooding comes after much of southern Europe, including areas of France, experienced unusually hot weather.
What does it mean to watch? What does it mean to watch? You'd observe what it means to watch for the second coming of Jesus. The Bible tells us certain points as to what it means to watch. Number one, it tells us to watch is to watch with sobriety, with faith, and with love. You must be sober. You must watch with faith and love. It also shows us to watch means to keep your garments of righteousness in you. You'll observe that as you look at those scriptures. To watch also means to be a watchman, hearing the words of truth. And you'll also see the Bible show you, to watch means to warn people of what? Coming danger. When you fulfill all of this, you're doing what the Bible means when God says to what? Watch. Let's turn first of all to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. And we will look at verse 6 to verse 9. Right, exactly. So verse 6 to verse 9 now, it tells us, therefore let us not sleep as do others. Did you just see that? Let us not what? Sleep as do others, but let us be what? Watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night. And they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be what? Sober. What are we supposed to do then? Putting on what? The breastplate of faith and love, for an helmet, the hope of salvation. Brethren, are you watching this? Verse 9. For God hath not appointed us to what? Wrath, but to what? Obtain salvation by what? Our Lord Jesus Christ. So we have to actually have faith and love and be sober. Now we know what faith is. Faith is the revealed truths of the Holy Spirit. Love is the divine nature, because God is love. So if you have faith and love, you have the truths of the plan of salvation showing you the love of God. Once you have the faith of Christ and the love of God in you, you are sober. You are sober. Is that understood, my dear brethren? And then you have hope of salvation. But we are told a helmet, which means that hope is continually in your heart. Your head, your heart. Helmet, not your chest, your heart. So in other words, we have to always have faith and love and be sober with it. Is that understood, my dear brethren? But that is not all. To watch means to keep your garments of righteousness in you by faith and by obedience. Look at Revelation 16:15. Revelation 16:15. Revelation 16:15. I quote, behold, Jesus is saying, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that what? Watch it and what? Keeping his garments, lest he walk what? Naked, and they what? See his shame. And this is Christ's final warning to the last church. Behold, I come quickly. You have to watch and keep your garments. Now here is what your Bible identifies as garments in Isaiah 61. 3 and 10. Isaiah 61, 3 and 10. Please find it. You have to keep your garments of righteousness. So here is how your Bible identified in Isaiah 61 verse 3 and then verse 10. Verse 3 tells us, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion church, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of what? Praise. For the spirit of what? Heaviness, that they might be called what? Trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he might be what? Glorified. Did you just see that idea, brethren? So God wants us to have the garments of praise. While people are mourning all over with all those destruction, you and I are praising God because you see his coming is near even at the door. But now let's look at verse 10. I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of what? Salvation. And hath covered me with what? The robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. So one thing you know for sure, when you have righteousness, you have what? Salvation. And if you have to keep your garments of righteousness, it means you're keeping your what? Salvation. You have to watch in a way to keep your what? Salvation. That's what we are being told. But that is not all. Turn with me to Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 8. After Psalms and Proverbs, Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 8. The first part of this verse tells us, let thy garments be always white. Did you just see that? And that's why God wants you to have pure garments, righteousness. Let your garments be always white. So in other words, you have to make sure that you keep yourself away from sin. Keep yourself unpolluted. As these things are happening around you, make sure you walk righteous before God. It is your duty. Is that understood, my dear brethren? And that's why the Bible tells us such people in the last days are identified as blessed are they that what? Do his commandments, that they may have what? Right in the tree of life. And the dragon was born with the what? Woman. And went to make war with whom? Which do what? Keep the commandments of God and have the what? Testimony of Jesus Christ. And that is why the Bible tells us, here are the what? Endurance of the saints. Here are they that what? Keep the commandments of God and the what? The faith of Jesus. So you have to keep the righteousness of God. Amen, brethren? Is that understood? But to watch also means to be a watchman and to warn people. Turn to Ezekiel chapter 33. We will read verse 7 to verse 9. Ezekiel 33. We will read 7 to 9. Here is what we are told. I quote, so thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word at my mouth and what? Warn them. Did you just see what it means to watch? So when God appoints you as a Christian, immediately he makes you become a what? A watchman. You to hear his words and warn people for him, from him. Is that understood? That is what it means for you to watch. It goes on. When I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, thou shalt surely die. If thou dost not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his what? iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Nevertheless, if thou warn the wicked of his way, to turn from it, if he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered. Did you just see that, my dear brother? So you have to warn people. This is what we are being told. You have to warn people. The end is near. Jesus is coming soon. He tells you to watch. You have to watch with faith and love in you and be sober. Not just only that. You have to keep your garments of righteousness where? In you. Keep yourself pure. Keep your garments what? White. He has appointed you to be a watchman, hearing the words of truth, hearing his words. And that you are to warn people of coming danger from him and for him. Is that understood, my dear brethren? That is what it means to watch. And if you are doing that, you see the earthquake shaking all around you. You feel it. What did you tell somebody? Did you tell them this is a sign of crisis soon coming? That's what you have to tell people. You have to warn them, let them know this is a sign of Jesus is coming. And then they tell you, well, we have always had earthquakes. Then you answer them and show them. If even say we have always had earthquakes, why are we having it? What is it a sign of? Just the earth shaking? It is a sign of the second one, coming of Jesus, and he warned us of that. And if Jesus is born, and Jesus tells us that the earthquakes are a sign of his second coming, who are you and I to question that? What more wisdom we have than God? And this is the reason why you have to warn people about that. Is that understood? It so happened that evil angels have been manifesting themselves in different ways all over the earth. And in these manifestations that they have been doing, it is preparing us for manifestations of evil angels that are going to be terrible. This video, we want to show you some strange things happening. Done by evil angels, yes. But nevertheless, they are signs of Jesus' what? Second coming. You see, watching is indeed required of the last church upon the face of the earth. That's us. We are told that we must watch. We must warn people. We must let people know things are happening. Watching is indeed the work given to us, as is identified in Revelation and Psalms. But when we are watching, terrible things are taking place, strange signs. So we want you to see evil angels. What I have done, as much as I could, I put writings on the film to explain to you what you are seeing here as signs of the end. So let's just look at this one.
நீங்க ரொம்ப கட்ட போறீங்க நீங்க அவர் தெரிஞ்சாரு ரெட்டிக்கு போவீங்க இது மறைக்குது அந்த வெளியே போன சிக்காப்பா இருக்கு.
Tak ada otak, tak ada mulut, tak ada hidung, tak ada otak pun.
Alat balikin.
Terjadi tahun 2003 silam saat warga desa Kalilolo, Maluku Tengah merenovasi bangunan Masjid Nahdlatul Sahapori. Berbekal keyakinan dan doa pada Sang Pencipta, tanpa bantuan alat, kubah masjid seberat ribuan kilo ini melayang-layang layaknya segumpal kapal.
I saw the video a week or so ago, maybe a week ago, from Anna, Illinois, of that really dramatic storm cloud that came down from the sky and touched the ground. Well, here's another example of that, although this isn't related to a storm. It's just a very impressive cloud structure. Not exactly sure where this is at, but it was sent in to our Facebook page, much like this picture here, which is very impressive. This is from 30,000 feet above one of the California wildfires. Look at that, how the earth is glowing underneath the clouds. This is looking down at the earth from above. This was sent in by Tanya. This was taken by her friend from an airplane over California.
So my dear brethren, all these are tricks of evil angels. We know that. A lot of can't go by itself. A dead cooked fish cannot suddenly move. And there are no living headless human beings. But evil angels are doing these things to influence people who do not know the gospel. But the fact that they are working more and more frequent now is a sign of the end. And trouble is coming. This is the reason why these things are happening. You imagine huge rain clouds are coming. And you look in the sky. And these clouds come down from the sky and actually touch the earth right in front of you. That never happened before. But now it is happening quite a lot. Here is somebody flying in an airplane over California and they're looking through the clouds. All they could see is like if the whole country is burning. Why? Because that place itself is a condemned place. It's a condemned place. But you see, all these are signs from God that we are living in the world. End of the earth's history, and that Jesus Christ is coming very soon. Is that understood, my dear brethren? Now let us look at Luke chapter 21, verse 11, and hear what Jesus himself said. Luke chapter 21, verse 11. Let's see what Jesus said. Here is what Jesus tells us. He said, and great earthquakes shall be in different places, and famines, and pestilences. And hear what he said, what? Fearful sights and what? Great signs shall there be where? From heaven. We have seen all these fearful signs. Now from heaven there's been God himself doing it. But God himself allowing it as a warning to us. Before we were shielded. But now the time of shielding has passed. Because we are close to the end. And we are being warned of the soon coming of Jesus Christ. That's why these signs are being given to us. Let's look at Isaiah 29 and verse 6. Isaiah 29 and verse 6. Isaiah 29 and verse 6. Apostate's religion upon the face of the earth will be visited of God with many of the natural phenomena that is currently taking place upon the face of the earth. Yes, my dear brethren. If we read, here is what we are told. I quote, thou shalt be visited of Yahweh of hosts with what? Thunder, and with what? Earthquake, and what? Great noise, and with what? Storm. The actual word there is hurricane. With storm, and what? Tempest, and what? The flame of devouring fire. We have seen all of those visitations today upon the face of the earth. Are we not seeing it? Yes. And this is the reason why the content of the signs are earthquakes, hurricanes, storms, floods, animal deaths, thunder, great noise. We have shown on television strange sounds being heard in heaven, in different parts of the earth. Sometimes huge explosions and nothing is allowed. Explosions shattering people with the glass, setting off car alarms, causing animals to run crazy in those areas there. Huge sounds being heard. Up till today, no scientist can tell us what is going on. But you and I know very how close it is to the end, and that those are signs of Jesus' what? Second coming. And of course we have wildfires all over the earth. Now here's what the Bible tells us about animal deaths. If we turn to Zephaniah chapter 1, please help your neighbor to find it if they do not know where to look. Zephaniah chapter 1. Here is what we are told. Zephaniah chapter 1. Verse 2 and verse 3. Behold, I will utterly consume all things from off the land, saith Yahweh. Did you just see that? How do we know that he's soon going to do it? He gives us signs. Let's look at some of those signs. It goes on. I will consume man and beast. I will consume what? The fowls of the heaven. What else? The fishes of the sea. And the stumbling blocks with the wicked, and I will cut off man from off the land, says what? Yahweh. In other words, all these signs are to take place, and they're taking place. They are telling us today that fishes are becoming extinct in the sea. So much are dying. Fishes by the millions are just suddenly dying. These things didn't used to happen before, but now they are happening. And they are all telling us that we are living close to the end, that Jesus Christ is coming very soon. Is that understood, my dear brethren? Listen, let us look at something here that Jesus shows us. Turn with me to Revelation chapter 11. Revelation chapter 11. Just before we look at that, brother, just go to the next video. Let me just see something in the next video.
On the 13th, a magnitude 6.3 earthquake hit near the South Sandwich Islands at a depth of 30 kilometers. Also on the 13th, a magnitude 5.0 earthquake hit Yunnan, China, injuring 18 people and damaging over 6,000 homes. A massive coronal hole has opened on the sun, spewing solar wind at 700 kilometers per second, which should hit Earth's magnetosphere by the 16th, possibly causing minor geomagnetic storms.
Look at the size of this hole in the sun. This is the reason for all the change in the weather. Not global warming, but changes in the sun. But you see, they're not telling us that because they want to make money out of taxation. Look at what is going on. A whole set of changes are taking place. And this is the reason why we are not to look for peace on the earth, but only trouble after trouble is coming. Go ahead.
Strombolian activity continues at Mount Etna in Italy, with bursts of lava and flames spewing from the northeast crater. Wildfires continue around the world in one of the worst years ever recorded. There are now 100 wildfires burning across the United States. More than 30,000 personnel, including firefighters from across the United States and nearly 140 from Australia and New Zealand, continue to battle the blazes that have now consumed more than 1.6 million acres. With the searing heat and dry conditions set to continue through August, more fires are expected to occur. A 3,000-meter area of mountain collapsed in Fangshan, China, completely splitting a road that runs along the mountainside. There are now new massive cracks opening in San Luis, Mexico, threatening nearby communities. There are 5 geological faults that lie beneath this area. On the 13th, there was a massive road collapse in Jiangxi, China, after large cracks began to form. The enormous sinkhole that opened on the 10th in Lancaster, Pennsylvania continues to grow, destroying the parking lot. There was a magnitude 6.5 earthquake near the Tanaga volcano in Alaska at a depth of 35 kilometers. After days of heavy rainfall, cracks and landslides started occurring in Ilocos Sur, Philippines, leaving 41 families homeless. On the 15th, there was another large road collapse in China, this time in Qingmei County. Japanese authorities are now preparing to evacuate Kikino-Arabajima Island after a threat of an eruption. Earthquakes and sulfur emissions have increased dramatically at the volcano, and the alert level has now been raised to 4 out of 5. On the 14th, there's new activity at the Sangay volcano in Santiago, Ecuador, with bursts of steam emissions, ash, and mild lava flows. On the 14th, So far, at least 38 people have been killed and dozens more are feared dead after a 260-foot section of highway bridge collapsed during a storm in Genoa, Italy. Vehicles fell 300 feet along with tons of steel and concrete debris into a river and across railroad tracks in an industrial zone below the bridge.
What caused this? Lightning struck the bridge.
As Florida continues to experience a devastating red tide killing millions of sea life, there is another marine life disaster unfolding in southern Maine. Dead harbor seals are washing up in large numbers. It started on the 13th when 11 pups were found dead along the shores. Just in the past 2 days, more than 30 dead harbor seals have washed ashore. Marine mammal experts are at a loss to explain the large number of deaths. Evacuations have now been ordered in Sahupal village in India due to massive growing cracks. There are now 25 shops and 20 houses that have been deemed unsafe for habitation. Huge cracks growing on a fault line in Acambe, Mexico have increased over 40% in the last decade and is now affecting transportation to nearby communities. On the 17th, a deep magnitude 6.8 earthquake hit near the Flores Sea in Indonesia at a depth of 568 kilometers. Also on the 17th, a magnitude 6.2 earthquake hit Costa Rica at a depth of 10 kilometers. On the 16th, there was a magnitude 6.2 earthquake at the Volcano Islands near Japan, also at a depth of 10 kilometers. Activity continues to intensify at the Krakatau volcano in Indonesia, with up to 70 explosions a day and elevated lava flows.
So let's go to the next chart here. I turn to Luke 21 in the meanwhile. Let's look at this one first, and then we go to Revelation 11 after that. Just watch this, Luke 21 first. Let's look at 25 to 27. You'll observe. 25 to 27. What did Jesus warn us about? What did Jesus tell us? What signs did he present? Hear what he said. And there shall be signs where? In the sun, and where? In the moon, and where? In the stars, and upon the earth what? The stress of nation with perplexity. The sea and the waves what? Roaring. And notice what he says here. And men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. And then what did he say? For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. But that point is very important. Hear what he says. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and what? With glory. So Jesus gives us an account of signs coming way down to big, terrible destruction. And then he comes. In other words, when Jesus is telling us about signs, this is what he did. This is what he does. He tells us about signs. And he goes way down until he comes. So we have two kinds of signs. Signs of the signs of when he comes. In other words, if you have an earthquake now, that earthquake is a sign of the great earthquake when it comes. You get that clear? If you have fires burning now, that is a sign of the great fires that will burn when it comes. Remember what the Bible told you? We will look at it. There should be a global hurricane that is going to kill plenty of people. So if you have signs of hurricanes, That is a sign of a big, huge hurricane as Jesus is seen coming. That is how your Bible tells it. So this is why Jesus gives you all kinds of small signs, and then he says the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and then you will see Christ come. Yes, ma'am.
Is this showing that that as Jesus showed these signs will happen, is it showing us that probation is closing, and also the greater sign is it will happen, greater signs, and the place will come after probation close, right?
That's right.
Right, that is the time of Jacob's trouble.
Well, the time of Jacob's trouble is within the place.
Within the place, right. But these have a repeat again when probation close, greater signs.
Yes, this is what we are coming to. 2 times of trouble. A little time of trouble and a what? The great time of trouble. Right now, the little time of trouble has begun. And this is a sign of the what? Greater time of trouble which is to come. At that time, probation will be closed. So we are seeing signs of the end. Signs that probation will soon close after the final preaching of the gospel, and then terrible destruction will come. So we are seeing signs of what's coming. The small signs are like what we are seeing now. And those small signs of what we are seeing now is telling us bigger is coming. Now watch this. Watch this. Turn with me now to Revelation chapter 11. Verse 19. That's right. It just starts here. Watch this one. Revelation 11:19. Take your time and read. Take your time and read. Revelation 11:19. Let's read. Watch this. And the temple of God was open where? In heaven. And they were seen in his temple the what? The ark of his testament, which is the law. So here when the sanctuary opens, the second apartment, the ark with the law is seen. After that, you have to preach about the Sabbath more fully. You have to preach the third angel's message. You have to preach justification by faith, which brings you into obedience to the commandments of God. Then after that, what happens? Let's see. And there were what? Lightnings and what? Voices. What else? And thundering. What? And an earthquake and what? Great hail. Did you see that? Yes. So in other words, you have actual signs that takes place during the time when the plagues are falling. But those are bigger signs. The hail. So we have hail falling now. And the hail falling now is more than any other time in this earth's history. And this hail is a sign of the last hail that is going to fall. And then Christ comes. Did you see that, my Gabriel? Yes. So in other words, it is not going to get better. The hail is not going to get smaller. And the extent of hail falling is not going to get less. It's going to get hard. Remember that? Yes. Remember that? Yes. Revelation 16. Three and 4. Revelation 16. 3 and 4. Verse 3. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a what? Dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and it became what? Blood. Did you just see in one of the films a whole set of dead fishes in rivers and waterways? Yes. They call it red tide today. where the water becomes as blood. Look, the rivers and fountains of water are already facing this situation of red tide, killing the animals. Because it is a small sign, just the beginning of what? Troubles. The little time of trouble happening now. But it is not going to get better. It's going to get how? Worse. Because more animals are going to die in the rivers and fountains of water and in the sea. Did you see what has happened off Florida? Yes. A large part of Florida, their tourist-based economy has collapsed. In Florida, 300 miles of red tide, killing everything in it. The beaches are littered with the corpse of all kinds of dead animals. I just didn't show you all in the film here because it would take too long. You have manatee, you have whale, you have dolphins, you have turtles and all kinds of fish come to shore rotting due to red tide. And if you go and bathe in it, it can kill you too. Especially if some of that water gets in your mouth. And then it started multiplying in the stomach, in the liquid there. That economy has crashed because of red tide. Here one of the second place and the third place is the same red tide. But how are we seeing the red tide now? We are seeing the red tide now as signs of that greater sign. So it's not going to go away. It's going to get worse and worse until Jesus comes. Did you see that? That is what Christ was showing us. So it starts with the little time of trouble, signs of greater destructive signs. The little time of trouble is beginning in now. Yes. And it is to lead to the what? Greater time of trouble, which is the plagues. That will be coming. Did you see that, my dear brethren? Yes, my dear. Let's read on again. Look at verse 8 of Revelation 16. Verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. Did you see the terrible heat wave that passed over Europe? Yes. Even we are feeling the terrible heat down here. All this are just small signs. Because the bigger one is going to kill a lot of people. People are dying now, yes, but those are just the little time of trouble beginning now. Did you see that, my dear brethren? Yes. That is how late time is. Watch again. Revelation chapter 16 again, 17 to 21. 17. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying what? And there were what? Voices, people screaming. And what? Thunder, and what? Lightning. And there was what? A great earthquake such as was not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into how much? 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell with the great earthquake. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Now look at verse 20. And every island one fled away. And the mountains were not. One of them fell off in Trinidad. And there fell upon men a great what? Hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And then what? Rasping gold, because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was what? Exceeding great. So currently now we are looking at tennis ball signs. Hail falling now. Destroying cars. Killing people in China. Wounding people in America. Destroying houses. Small hail. What would you do with hail that is 50 to 70 pounds? Falling like rain. So what we are seeing are just small signs of terrible signs that are going to take place until Jesus comes. That's what we see. So you saw hail falling, but that is just a sign. The beginning of sorrows, the beginning of trouble is going to get worse. It's not that the hail is going to go away. The hail is going to get what? Larger and larger and worse and worse. You're seeing cracks appearing all over the earth. You're seeing earthquakes all over the earth. It's not that it's going to go away. It's going to get how? Worse and worse until the earth will crack up all over. Nations will fall. Cities will fall. Are you listening to me? Yes. Mountains will disappear.
And the island will disappear?
Of course, a lot of islands will disappear. A lot of islands will disappear. Below the sea. As this terrible earthquake strikes. So what we're seeing is what? Signs. That's why we're seeing it now. We're seeing small signs that is not going to go away. It's going to get what? Worse and worse until it becomes what? Bigger one. Then Jesus will come. Are you listening to me, my dear brother? Are you listening to me? Yes. How do you know these things will happen? Then Jesus will come. Revelation 6. 14 to 17. 14. Remember Christ says that the powers of heaven shall be what? Shaken. Let's see the powers of heaven being shaken. Let's see the powers of heaven being shaken. Let's read. We read. And the heaven departed, what? As a scroll, when it is what? Rolled together. Now here it comes. And every mountain and island will be moved what? Out of their places. That's why the great earthquake such as never was a nation, such as was not since there was a nation. Where mountains are sinking into the sea. Where islands are being destroyed, break up into pieces. Do you see that? The powers of heaven shaken. The great earthquake destroying everything. But all that happened and then you see Christ in heaven. Let's see. It goes on. Verse 15. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens, and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that what? Sitteth on the throne, and from the what? Wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and what is the question? That's right, my dear. So that's the reason why these signs are merely the little time of troubles, right? It's beginning. But a greater time of trouble, the plagues, is coming. What we are seeing taking place in the troubles that we are having all around us is not going to get better. It is an indication to a greater one that is going to end in the second coming of Jesus. That's why Jesus speaks about signs of his coming. And we get smaller signs and we get what? Greater signs. Did you get that, my dear brother? Did you get that? Let's just look at a few scriptures that show us some of the terrible things under the greater signs when the plagues are falling of Jesus' second coming. When you see that, you will see what we are getting now is just a little time of those troubles. Just a little time. Because those bigger ones are coming. It's not going to get better, it's going to get how? Worse. Okay? So let me be selective here for you. Let's just choose our whole set of scriptures here. Let's choose Isaiah 26. 20 and 21. Yes, sir.
So that Christianity shows what is Savior, right? And it also shows what is Savior, shows us the destruction of the earth. So three fathers are the Savior.
Yes.
Then with false religion,
see, this is the reason why you have to show the evangelicals where you are wrong. Because the evangelicals tell you that is going to happen when they are in heaven already. They expect to go to heaven with a rapture. And after they in heaven with this rapture, then all of destruction they say will take place on the earth. But you must remember, when Jesus Christ comes, the earth doesn't continue. It is the sign of your coming and of the what? The end of the world. So when Jesus comes, the world what? Ends. It is what? Continue. That is what he gave us signs of what? Watch again. Sign of his coming. And when he comes, what happens? The world ends. You understand? And that's what they need to recognize. That's why I quoted that for you before. I do not know how much you may have drunk in what I said before. That the signs Jesus gave us are signs of his second coming and signs of the world, end of the world. And that his second coming brings in the world, the end of the world. That's what we saw in the first chapter that we got. That's what we actually saw. And this is the reason why we're looking at little times of trouble. Little time of trouble is already beginning. And it's going to lead to the what? Greater time of trouble, which is the plagues. Is that understood? So what destruction is taking place now is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. And then Jesus comes. But they think that Christ will come, they'll be in heaven, and the earth will continue for 7 years. No. At his second coming is the end of the world. Remember that, right, brethren? Okay? Now, let's just be selective here. Isaiah 26, 20 and 21. Read. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut the doors about thy face. Hide thyself, as it were, a little moment, until the indignation be what? Overpassed. For behold, Yahweh cometh out of his place to what? Punish the inhabitants of the earth for their what? Iniquity. The earth shall disclose what? The blood, and shall what? No more cover up the slain. That means dead people will be all over. Dead people will be all over at the second coming of Jesus. Let me give you a next selected scripture. Jeremiah 25. 32. Jeremiah 25. 32. We read. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and say unto them, Yahweh shall roar from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. He shall mightily roar upon his habitation, and give a shout as they that tread the graves against the inhabitants of the earth. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for Yahweh hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh, and will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from what? Nation to nation. And a great what? Whirlwind, the word is storm. A great storm shall be raised up from the what? Curse of the course of the earth, and the slain of Yahweh shall be at that day from what? One end of the earth, even also unto what? The other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, nor be gathered, nor buried. They shall be as what? Down upon the ground. So what do we have here? When Christ is coming, and the air changes. we have this departed as a spool, which explains the air leaving the earth. At that time, a great storm or great hurricane will be raised up that will pitch people all over the earth. And remember the Bible already telling you to rock to and so like a what? Drunkard. So people will be pitched all over the earth. And the slain of the Lord will be all over the earth. Nobody's going to bury them. Because all the righteous will be gone. But this is how your Bible presents it. So when you see hurricanes taking place, look at what happened as one of you all identified off Hawaii. In no time, in about a day, a hurricane arrived and reached a category 5. The eye alone was 70 miles wide. The eye. And that was headed straight for Hawaii. Were it not for the mercies of God, that whole set of islands would have been wiped out. But by the time it reached Hawaii, it was category 3. And we are told in a few hours, 40 inches of rain fell. Do you know what that means? The islands are in a terrible mess now. But that is just a sign, a small sign, a little time of trouble sign. Because when the greater time of trouble comes, which is the plagues, it's going to be trouble. And then Christ comes. Brethren, are you seeing what we're talking about here? You remember what the Bible says about the hail? Right? Turn to Job 38.
Yeah, but now we have this sign that still it got to have the remnants inside there that the repeat. And this has Oregon and breaking down and they're important. It says that some of this side, it says some of this side.
Yeah.
Now that's time for me.
Yeah. Job 38, 22 and 23. You see, the little time of trouble is just the beginning. And then they will have the greater time of trouble. Watch this, Job 38. We read 22 and 23. Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Did you just see that? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail? Look what it is called. What is it called? Hail. Which I have reserved against what? The time of trouble. Against what? The day of battle and war. So when you see a small hail taking place now, it's a sign of the greater hail that is going to be coming in the period called the time of trouble. Are you listening to me, my dear brethren? Are you listening to me? You see, the little time of trouble exists now. How do we know the little time of trouble exists now? Let's read Revelation 7. 1 to 3. Revelation 7, 1 to 3. Is it from? Revelation 7. We read. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not what? The wind should not what? Blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God. Where? In the fall. So right now we're in the sealing time. When the sealing is going on. And the 4 angels are being told, hurt not the earth. So occasionally they will get signs of a bigger destruction coming. But yet still, it doesn't destroy everything. It's just a sign of a greater destruction. Why doesn't everything be destroyed now? Because God's people are being what? Sealed. So we are in the sealing time. We are facing a little time of trouble. God's people are being sealed. The angels are holding back. We get now and then a little shaken. But it is not going to get better, it's going to get what? Worse. That's why now is the time for you to be sealed with the Holy Spirit. And remember, the Bible shared two types of seal. A stamp seal and a settling seal. We have gotten the stamp seal when we are converted. Although you need to settle in the truth. Then we need the settling seal. Is that understood, my dear brother? Let me quote for you early writings, page 85 to 86. I quote, the commencement of that time of trouble here mentioned does not refer to the time when the plagues shall begin to be poured out, but to a short period just before they are poured out. While Christ is in the sanctuary, at that time, while the work of salvation is closing, trouble will be coming on the earth. And the nations will be angry, yet held in check, so as not to prevent the work of the third angel. At the time of the latter rain, or refreshing from, at that time, the latter rain, or refreshing from the presence of the Lord, will come to give power to the loud voice of the third angel, and prepare the saints to stand in the period when the seven last plagues shall be poured out. In other words, we are being told that right now we are in the world, little time of trouble. And soon, the plagues or the greater time of trouble will come. But now, it's time to be sealed. Amen. And to be prepared for the greater time of trouble, which will be the plagues. Are you listening to me, my dear brother?
Just give the page again, please.
85 to 86. So now, just before we close off, let us just look at this next clip.
There are a series of significant Earth movements that have developed in the past few days, and the Earth's core is heating up considerably, as evident by the movement of magma and the upheaval occurring with volcanic activity worldwide. Let's begin with the disturbing reports coming from Lombok, Indonesia. The devastating and deadly earthquake and series of tremors that hit this region this month has created tremendous ground deformation in some areas of Lombok, lifting the surface of the island by nearly 1 foot. Almost 390,000 people, or about 10% of Lombok's population, are homeless or are displaced after the series of earthquakes, which have also damaged and destroyed about 68,000 homes. The death toll stands at nearly 400, but fatalities are expected to grow because there are still victims who are suspected of being buried by landslides and by collapsed buildings, and there are deaths that have not been recorded. Lombok was hit by 3 strong quakes in the past 2 weeks, and it has endured more than 500 aftershocks. A massive humanitarian crisis is unfolding on Ambi Island in the Pacific after a volcanic eruption sent thick ash raining down on villages while turning day into night. The situation is dire for island inhabitants who are still evacuating since roads are being cut off and washed away by mudslides. The entire west end of the island is only accessible by sea or air, forcing rescuers to trek for hours to find village residents who are now desperate for basic supplies. The island is experiencing widespread damage and massive disruption, with increased cases of respiratory illness due to the ongoing fallout from the volcanic ash. In July, the ash fallout was so thick that it completely blocked the mid-afternoon sun. The latest ashfall was the worst on Amby Island since the increase in activity began in September of 2017. The island was once home to nearly 12,000 people who have been forced to seek refuge in nearby islands due to increased volcanic activity and ashfall. There are 2,000 families that still remain on the island waiting for help to arrive, where food and water are cited as priority needs for stranded residents. For villagers of the once peaceful and beautiful Pacific Island, life has been turned upside down by the volcano's unrest. The noise of the eruptions has made for many sleepless nights, and the ashfall has wiped out crops and destroyed buildings, forcing people to leave their homes and communities behind.
For weeks, foul-smelling sargassum seaweed has been washing ashore across the Caribbean and Florida's Atlantic coast. These blooms are naturally occurring, but weren't seen in this region before 2011. Since then, the problem's grown worse, and while scientists are unsure what's behind it, many believe human activity is a factor.
This used to be Panayotis Ramphos' kitchen. He only survived the fire that swept through this neighborhood on July 23rd because he and a friend acted quickly after smelling the smoke.
We went to the main road and there was a tsunami of flames, 60 meters high. As soon as we saw this, I said, "Save your family, take them to the sea." We ran back and I grabbed my mother.
This is where Ramphos ended up, along with hundreds of others, some scorched by the flames.
There was absolutely no warning. Perhaps the authorities didn't realize the size of the phenomenon. It was so sudden. My house is 400 meters from the sea. The fire took 3, maybe 4 minutes to cover that distance.
An inquiry is now looking into why authorities failed to better coordinate their response. The local mayor says firefighters acted heroically, but everything happened too fast.
Oddio! 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 Oddio santo! Mi sento male. Mi sento male.
So red tide is otherwise known as a harmful algal bloom, and generally they're in marine waters, and they occur because of nutrients in the water and the presence of a microorganism called a dinoflagellate. It's a normal, persistent, long-term issue in Southwest Florida.
we have lots of different kinds of dead fish, mullets, grouper, snooks, sea eels, and different kinds. Spanish mackerel, yes.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
No, this is the worst. This is the worst so far. Yep.
What does it smell like for people watching?
I can't describe this, but it's just like unbelievable.
The new apartment, this one called Chateau de Chantilly or whatever it is. Say that Frenchy. Watch out here. Watch out here going down to Hilo. Coming right there. What's that?
Severe storms moving through watches in 10 states as we come on the air. Blasting through New York City just a short time ago, day turning into night in the shadow of the Empire State Building. We all watched as the city suddenly turned dark, storm clouds moving in and quickly. Hail slamming down in Saugerties, New York, forcing cars to the side of the road just as many head home from work. Hundreds of flights canceled and delayed at this hour, thousands without power.
Tonight, powerful storms lashing the Northeast. On Interstate 87 in New York, torrential rain making it impossible to see. Hail, some of it tennis ball size, destroying windshields. Those storm clouds rolling into New York City, wind gusts downing trees and knocking out power for almost 500,000 customers across the region. Overnight, powerful straight-line winds pummeling the mid-Atlantic. Tornado warnings and wind gusts topping 60 miles an hour at Dulles Airport. Travelers there forced to hide underground. Further west, hail turned roads into rivers near Denver. And 4 tornadoes reported in Kansas.
Look and listen to the sound of that hail coming down in Colorado Springs, Colorado. This was on Monday. Some really crazy weather. It caused some serious damage. At least 8 people at Cheyenne Mountain Zoo were injured. I mean, look at that. Those hail balls just hitting the water there. Sadly, 2 animals, a vulture and a duck, were killed by the softball-sized hail. Over 3,000 guests at the zoo were evacuated as debris was just scattered throughout the grounds. And then when people finally got back to their cars, they found that their windshields and hoods were destroyed.
Take a look at this video. This was sent to us by a viewer. This is that hailstorm that did all this damage around 2 o'clock this morning. You can see the size of that hail. This was sent to us by a viewer in Carrollton, and hear how loud it was as the hail was hitting the pavement.
And look at these cars. This windshield, this back windshield completely smashed out. And look at the dents here. This will give you an idea of what softball-sized hail can do. People trapped in cars by icy projectiles said the hailstorm sounded like gunfire. The Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in Colorado Springs pummeled, 14 people injured, 5 seriously. Grizzly bears bombarded, scrambling for shelter as softball-sized hailstones come crashing down. The zoo walkways cleared as more than 3,000 people took cover. The downpour echoing inside as the storm knocks tree branches to the ground. The massive chunks of hail shattering windows, damaging 300 cars, sending debris flying and damaging homes. On the roads, drivers forced to pull over. This cop car's windows shattered, and this dashboard taking a major hit from the tennis ball-sized ice. Back windows shattered to pieces.
20-foot deep sinkhole that has opened up, trapping 6 cars. 2 are on the outskirts of it. Right now, police say they are securing the scene. They don't know what caused the sinkhole. They're not sure if it was rain, construction. They say this is a relatively new area, so there's still a lot of questions to be answered.
From the sky, neighbors in One Valley community are reaching out, trying to figure out what's going on here. It's happening in a neighborhood near Brown and Higley in Mesa.
All across the valley, people have been finding dead birds in their yards.
I'm finding 2.
A curious phenomenon that had Karen Fitzgerald wondering what was going on and calling us for help.
And they're over next to the pool. They're here. They're all. I've never seen anything on the way to the corner store, all within these grounds. I've never seen anything like this, and it's concerning me.
We noticed a few around our complex near Higley and Brown this afternoon.
And it's all this kind of bird. And they, darling, they are everywhere.
So what's killing them?
My best guess is the water, but that's just a guess.
Last year, the same thing happened out in Buckeye, and it's happening again, but this time much earlier.
Mental disaster plaguing more than 100 miles of American coastline, even making it hard to breathe in some cases.
This is what a marine disaster looks like. Beaches littered with dead fish, manatees, even a whale shark washing ashore.
I've been here for 20 years, and this is probably the worst I've ever seen.
100 plus miles of coastline from Naples to Sarasota, ravaged by what's called the red tide. Residents and tourists hitting some of Florida's famed beaches suffering too. All this leaving air in places too dangerous to breathe, and if you're swimming in an infested beach, it's harmful if ingested.
People were swimming in the water this week when thousands of the tiny dead fish began washing ashore. Eyewitness viewer Juan Martinez says it's creating a terrible smell. Now, these fish look just like the ones we showed you last week. Millions of dead fish came to the surface surrounding boats at the Houston Yacht Club. State officials say heat-depleted oxygen is causing this huge fish kill.
Here recently, I talked about how the red tide was causing droves of fish and sea life to die on the coast of Florida. Now, this is a phenomenon that's seen around the globe in different areas at different times, and this can deprive the water of oxygen that is needed for these animals to survive. Other times, this excuse is used, sometimes en masse, to cover other die-offs that are from other things. Reports out of Japan showing these blue whales washed up on the beach. And then in India, the Karazalam beach in Goa, India, seeing hundreds of starfish washing up dead. In Mexico, thousands of sardines dead. Then we have talk of 3-beaked whales wash ashore in Ireland. And here we have a look at all those starfish. And they're saying hundreds of dead fish scattered across the Josiah's Bay Pond in Tortola, as there's no explanation for what killed all the fish there. And that's followed up by a report of a ton of dead fish recovered near the German-Swiss border in the Rhine River. And actually, there's one more here saying thousands of dead fish appear in a lake in Utah. So this is across the board. Massive animal die-offs. I wanted to...
Yes, my dear baby. No, I just have one... Yes, go ahead.
As a Sabbath veteran, I was really convicted as I sat down. I was really convicted as I sat down here. And I thought about everything Brother Aaron was saying. And I thought about the Sabbath day. And I told myself that a lot of these things would not be occurring if man did not break God's Sabbath, because Yahweh is God alone. Amen. Now we're going to read Genesis 1, chapters 8, from chapters 8. And God, from verses 8, right? And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning was the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place, and let a dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together the waters called the seas, and God saw that it was good. I want to read verses 13
And the evening and the morning was the third day. And God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be a sign and for the season and days and years. I want to read verses. Okay, from continue verse 15. And let them be for light in the firmament and for heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And God made the stars. Coming down to verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures, and have life and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And I want to go to when God had finished all those things in verses 30, 31, God said, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning was the sixth day. And I want to read from Genesis chapter 2. It says, thus the heaven and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day God ended all his work when he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it that he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Now, God is creator. The one true God is creator. And going back to what Brother Nyron was reading in Revelation 13, now God gives life to the earth, right? And everything that he created got life. But look, everything is dying. So let us read in Revelation 16, verses 2. It says, from verses 2 that it says, and the first went and poured out the vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped the image. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of dead men, and every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountain of waters, and they became blood. And verse 8, and the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and the powers was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And verses 9 it says, and man was scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which he had power over these plagues, and they repented not to give glory to him. God created man to give glory to him. And look, life is actually leaving the earth. Mercy is leaving the earth. Christ is sitting in judgment. That tells us that God himself is responsible for these events that is taking place. He is judging the earth right now, brethren. He is sitting down in judgment, but when he stands up, so it means to say, as he's judging, investigative judgment is happening now, mercy is leaving, and he's judging just the remnant people, because the earth will be adjudicated lost, right? So, why did I say all this? I say all this to point to the Sabbath. God created everything he had from the first day to the sixth day. Look now, he's undoing what he did by all these events, which will lead to a major events that will happen, that will culminate, pointing to the death of everything that he created. Brethren, God is creator. Man is taking this thing for granted. You understand? And a lot of these people, they are in wonderment. They don't know what to do. Some of them beside themselves. Everything is gone. Everything man invented, God don't have no regards for that. So if we put our minds on the things that are invented, we will lose. God is creator. Everything that he created is leaving. He's taking it back. He said, look, I'm destroying it. But we, the Christians, who are righteous by faith, who are living holy in the sight of God, God will take us, once we abide, he is going to leave this earth with trophies. So Satan, you lose. God is leaving this earth. You and all will be destroyed. Amen, brethren? So what we need to do, we need to abide in this faith, because this is the true faith of Jesus Christ. This faith, God is creator. Worship Yahweh and give glory to him. He said, I am Yahweh, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. All those things, he condemned everything and he's destroying those things. Right?
Amen. So my dear brethren, with all those signs that you are seeing, it means to say that terrible destruction is coming, okay? Yes. So we have shown you video footage, many of the lesser signs taking place now before the greater destruction. And then Christ is seen in heaven. So I just have one last video footage to show you. And then we will look at the last chart and look at what was the admonition that Jesus gave in the light of those signs. Now this last video footage here, where will we get video footage of the whole earth being destroyed? Nowhere. Because the whole earth is not being destroyed. So what I have done, I have compiled some clips from various movie films showing the earth being destroyed, put it together to give you an example, and what you see is still Job. It's going to be worse. So let's look at this clip here of the final big destruction that is going to take place.
Everyone was warned, but no one listened. A rise in temperature, ocean patterns changed, and ice caps melted. They called it extreme weather. They didn't know what extreme was. In the year of 2019, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and droughts unleashed a wave of destruction upon our planet.
Just touched down. Well, we can see it from right here. It's ripping up trees. It's ripping up everything in its sight. If you're above ground, you need to get to a storm shelter or a safe place right now.
It is joke of what is going to take place. But we just show you this for you to understand that it is terrible destruction that is coming. And we are just seeing signs. You notice all the small signs you see it happening on a bigger scale here, did you not? And at that time it is for the destruction of the earth. So now let us take our final scripture in Luke chapter 21 and to watch out Jesus' admonition in view of the current signs. Luke chapter 21, and we will read from verse 28 to 31 and then 34 to 36. You see, my dear brethren, we have been saying over and over again that we must tell people that Jesus Christ is coming soon. We must tell people that the end of all things is at hand. And since we must tell people that, then we must preach from the Bible that when they see those signs take place, it is signs that Jesus is soon to come. Is that understood? But in light of all of that, Jesus himself gave us certain admonitions on the basis of those things that are to come. Let us look at Luke 21 from verse 28 onwards to verse 31. And let's see what Jesus told us. I quote, "And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption," what? Drawing nigh. So it means to say that those signs that we are seeing means our final redemption is drawing near. Did you see that, my dear brethren? He continues. "And he spake to them of a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, you see and know of your own selves that summer is now near at hand. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is what? Near at hand." So in other words, your redemption is drawing near. The kingdom of God is near at hand, making up of the subjects of his kingdom by redeeming us. And it goes on again. Read verse 31 again. "So likewise ye, when you see those things come to pass, know that the kingdom of God is what? Near at hand." Now go to verse 34. "And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting," that is worries. Worries. Your mind's so caught up in worries that you're not even thinking about the truths of Christ's plan of salvation. You're so caught up in worries that it actually separates you from God. So we are told that we have to be careful lest your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life. And so that day come upon you unawares. Many people are caught up in the cares of this life. What shall we eat? What shall we drink? Where shall we live? And these things take their minds off Christ. Now you must be concerned about eating and drinking and living somewhere, but not to the point of taking your mind off Jesus Christ. Because seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and what? All these things shall be added unto you. You have to believe the scriptures. Those things are true, they are not false. Jesus' words himself are true. And if you want to believe Jesus' words above Paul or Peter, they all spoke the same. But look, Jesus' words himself tell you this. So he tells you this, read it again. Verse 35. Let's read 34 again. "And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with worries and drunkenness and the cares of this life. And so that day come upon you how? Unawares. For as a snare it shall come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Did we see that, my dear brethren? Therefore we are told again, finally, to what? Watch ye therefore and what? Pray always that you may be what? Accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. So Jesus' admonition is, those signs show that the redemption what? Draws near. It shows that the kingdom of God is what? At hand. We are told that we are to preserve our minds from what? Drunkenness, what? Worries and what? The cares of this life. We are also told that the end will come as a snare for the whole earth. Therefore we are admonished to what? Watch and to what? Pray always that we will be accounted worthy to escape these things. So, in closing, here is Mrs. White speaking in the book Maranatha. I quote page 176. It says, as men depart further and further from God, Satan is permitted to have power over the children of disobedience. He hurls destruction upon men. There is calamity by land and sea. Property and life are destroyed by fire and flood. Are we not seeing those things? Yes. The judgments will be according to the wickedness of the people and the light of truth that they have had. If they have the truth, according to the light will be the punishment. End of quote. And this is the reason why all these instructions are taking place. Yes, straight away.
Jeremiah 25. I'm in trouble. Signs are fulfilling. Jeremiah 25 verse 13, Jeremiah 25 verse 29 says, for lo, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name, and should he be utterly unpunished? Here God is asking the question, and shall he be utterly unpunished? And I always say that God should always remember the days of Noah. God is no wise responsible for evil. Because when man chooses to sin, right, all these show that God created everything good, right, and because man sinned, right, man chooses to sin, they become separate from God. So therefore, God used the word that he repented, he made man because he know he made man, created man good. So therefore, when man chooses to sin, all these things showing that the hatred, all these calamities is because of sin and the evil that sin brings. And also, I also say that in Jeremiah, it says here, I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, said the Lord of hosts. So all these things that is coming and studies because God is going to call for it because of sin, because of the terribleness of man transgression. And also verse 31 it says, a noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord had a controversy with the nations. He will plead yet with all flesh, that is mercy. He will give them that are wicked to the sword. So those that reject the truth, he will get them to the sword. Therefore, thus said the Lord of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation. So this showing that God is no one responsible for sin because of man's transgression. It's because man chose that way, but yet God is pleading because of salvation, the great plan of salvation, which is mercy. And because man chose darkness, all these calamities are coming upon the land. Therefore, Yahweh, saints of God, we who are saints, and therefore we should rejoice because of these calamities, because Yahweh had to come. Amen. And all these calamities we should not fear but rejoice. But yet still we have to fear because we have to examine ourselves to see if we will stand that time and put our trust in God.
Amen. 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 So my dear brethren, remember, keep the faith. Amen? Amen. So when you see we are studying and we are going through all kind of deep theological facts and so on about the Godhead, about the death of Christ, about different parts of the plan of salvation, make sure you learn the science of salvation well, because the time is late and you have to prepare for the second coming of Jesus Christ. So may God add his mercy. We showed you these things because we want you to know you will see more destruction coming. It will meet us even in Trinidad and Tobago. But what should we do? Recognize it as signs of Jesus' word. Second coming, but make sure you are prepared. Is that understood? We can't say it enough. Make sure you are prepared. And thus, my dear brethren, when Jesus Christ comes, you know one thing for sure. You will be with him forevermore. Amen. So remember these things that we talked about right here, and keep this thing in your heart. So please let us start. And again, we want to thank Sister Farrell, Sister here, and she stands for the journey from quite Africa to come right back here in Trinidad and Tobago and fellowship with us. Amen, sister? Yeah. I just put up your hand and we'll look at her there again, right? Okay? Thank you so very much. We must let you know we think about you and we have been missing you. And it was nice to see you again, okay? And to all those other faces here, thank God for your presence. Amen. So let us have our word of prayer now. Let us pray. Gracious Father, we understand the lateness of time. We see events all around us showing us that Jesus Christ is coming to the earth very soon. And when he comes, it will be the end of the world. Therefore, we recognize that we need to prepare by watching. We need to keep our garments of righteousness. We need to teach other people the truths that we learn from you to warn them of coming danger. We understand, Father, that we need to abide in the truths of the plan of salvation, keeping the faith of Jesus Christ and your love in our hearts by obedience to your commandments through faith. We know that we ought to watch out because the end is near, even at the doors. So please help us to prepare. Please help us to be honest and sincere. Please help us to be dedicated to you, that we may do that which is right in your sight and glorify your holy name. Have mercy upon us because of our transgressions and justify us or make us sinful and teach us patience and endurance that we may abide in sinfulness through faith. Thanking you again for hearing us and blessing us through the truths of Jesus Christ, the plan of salvation.